Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about healthcare for all, entitlement, and a dad. This is actually going to be a lot like one of those How to Ruin Thanksgiving Dinner videos, where we break away from news and discuss the rhetoric that tries to convince people of something objectively false. Here's the question that started this. Miss Belle, I need some help. I think everybody deserves health care. Everybody. Whichever group somebody in the comments is going to ask about. Yes, them too. Everybody deserves health care. Now I have to go back home this week, and I've seen my dad all over Facebook responding to anybody who wants Medicare for all with, "You're not entitled to somebody else's labor." I know this will come up while I'm home. My dad isn't an unreasonable man, but he's a cop, so he always goes with an appeal to authority. He's just always convinced he's right. I don't feel like breaking down the entirety of our healthcare system to show how pursuit of profit is really what's destroying America. He'll get lost in the math and numbers and demand every single source be presented individually, and it'll be a whole night. Any ideas? You don't need math and numbers for this one. That's probably something you never thought you'd hear me say. But he's not making a fiscal argument. He's trying to create a philosophical argument that it's wrong to make medical professionals work for free. Ask Dad why people have to move out of his way when he has his lights on. He'll probably say either because it's the law or so I can get to the emergency faster. If he says it's the law, just tell him you want a law saying healthcare is free and he must enforce it. But assuming he says something about response time, ask who else gets that privilege. Firefighters and ambulances, right? Because they're emergencies. Society has deemed that these people get to violate traffic laws. Then say society has deemed them important. That's why society pays for these services through taxes. At this point, your dad will probably correct you and say that ambulance services normally charge. Exactly. His labor is paid for via taxes because it's something society has deemed important enough to be universal. Same thing with firefighters. Hat tip to volunteers out there. We place the same value on medical care. That's why we let them blow through red lights. But the services are privatized. There is no philosophical difference between taxes paying for cops, firefighters, the military, teachers, and so on, and paying for healthcare workers. This is a red herring that is caught on. I've seen this comment a few times in our comment section here. He'll probably try to talk about ambulances being emergency care and that somehow being different. Everybody's health care becomes life or death on a long enough timeline. Access earlier helps keep that moment at bay. At this point, he'll probably fall back on nationalized health care being worse because it's a common U.S. myth. Ask him if private security guards at the mall are better than him. Or maybe better to make your point. Show him that the U.S. doesn't have the best health care in the rankings. It's not even in the top 10. Those countries in the top 10 have universal health care. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.